राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जनाय यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुना जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 जय प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपद Hare Krishna. Is it clear now? Okay. So this morning, as part of the Bhagavatam class, we will be not discussing the Bhagavatam verse, but we will look into some of the Bhagavatam verses also. It's a topic on exploring the first offense to the holy name, which is called as Satam Ninda or Sadhu Ninda or Vaishnav Ninda. I hope you are able to see the screen. Is the PowerPoint connected? They can see? They can see. Okay. So I begin this talk by a classic statement of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And this statement is to be meditated upon and reflected. The whole seminar is based on this one statement of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, don't criticize devotees or non-devotees. Forget about devotees, even non-devotees. First look at your own conditioning and try to purify yourself. Is there any lust in you? Is there any kutinati, deceit in you or not? Be worried for that. Don't worry for others. Sometimes we are, as devotees, too much concerned about others. Most of the times. We are not concerned what is happening inside us. We don't want to look inside. Because we can't look within, we also always are like bhaya drishti. We look out. So when we see faults in others, we don't see that the faults lie in us. So that's why Bhakti Siddhanta said, don't be worried for that. Don't worry for others. Sri Guru and Lord Sri Krishna are responsible for others. You cannot do anything to help them. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur saying, you cannot do anything to help them. So, you have no right to criticize. One who has the heart to help others, he has the right, in one sense, because he has the heart to help others. So, it's a very elaborate topic, and I'll just summarize when we come to the end, that who can really criticize. But he says very clearly, you don't have right to criticize because you cannot do anything to help them. So based on this one statement, we are going to elaborate today's talk. Now this is another reflection. We have come here to reform ourselves, not to reform others. We are very keen to correct others, but it is difficult to correct ourselves. If you want to protest, then it is better to protest against our own wrongdoings. Sometimes when some devotee does something wrong, we make a huge propaganda and try to prove how he has done wrong, and we complain, to the management, so many things we do. But what about our own wrongdoings? We protest against ourselves? Do we do that? No, we don't do that. If we want to discipline someone, let that someone be we. Let us reform ourselves. No need to take any pictures. You can hear attentively. If you want the slides, we will give you. If we wish to pick faults, let us pick our own faults. So, these reflections are basically to understand the subject, that why do we criticize or why do we do sadhu ninda. So this is just a precursor to the whole discussion. Now, Vaishnav Ninda is an article written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur in this article discusses only two things. The topic of the article is Vaishnav Ninda. So firstly he discusses who is a Vaishnava. And we discussed this seminar for 6 hours to find out who is a Vaishnava. And then what constitutes Vaishnav Aparadh? What is Vaishnav? First you have to identify who is a Vaishnava, and then what constitutes Vaishnav Aparadh, and what doesn't constitute Vaishnav Aparadh. So that's it. So today we are going to just summarize what is there in this article in this short talk. Now before we go into that, this is something additional insight which we are discussing from the Kapil Shiksha. In the Kapil Shiksha, Mother Devahuti, when she approaches her son and spiritual master, Kapil Dev, that she is tormented by her senses, she is harassed by the senses. So she asks and seeks shelter under Kapil Dev. And Kapil Dev begins his discussion in the Kapil Shiksha, which begins from chapter 25. He gives the solution as Adhyatma Yoga. And this Adhyatma Yoga can be Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. But Kapil Dev first discusses Bhakti Yoga. And not only Bhakti Yoga, he discusses Siddha Bhakti Yoga. That means Bhakti Yoga in perfection. Bhakti Yoga in perfection. So how a Siddha who is experiencing the beauty of the Lord, how he is experiencing ecstasy in his heart, he discusses that in chapter 25. In chapter 26 and 27, Kapil describes liberation by Jnana Yoga. First the Sankhya analysis is that of 24 elements and how we can attain liberation by the path of Jnana Yoga. And then in chapter 28, Kapil Dev describes Ashtanga Yoga, liberation by the process of Ashtanga Yoga. Now after Devahuti has heard all these three processes, then she says that I think Bhakti Yoga is best suited for me. Kindly now describe Bhakti Yoga in detail. So in chapter 29, Kapil Dev discusses Mishra Bhakti, mixed devotion. There is Sattvika Bhakti, Rajasika Bhakti and Tamasika Bhakti. And then he discusses Shuddha Bhakti, which is called as Nirguna Bhakti. So after defining the definition of Shuddha Bhakti, now Bhakti we all know begins with Sadhana Bhakti. And by practicing Sadhana Bhakti we attain Sadhya Bhakti. And Sadhana Bhakti has limbs, angas of Sadhana Bhakti which we have to practice. So Kapil Dev starts describing the limbs of Sadhana Bhakti. And it is very interesting that Sadhana Bhakti should lead to what? Sadhya Bhakti. But interestingly, although one practices Sadhana Bhakti, it doesn't lead to Sadhya Bhakti. And Kapil Dev, in that discussion in the chapter 29, discusses the reasons why Sadhana Bhakti doesn't lead to Sadhya Bhakti. And they are threefold. First is offenses in Bhakti due to disregard, hatred and criticism. So there are the three reasons why Sadhana Bhakti doesn't lead to Sadhya Bhakti. Disregard, avagya, hatred, dvesh, dvishata and ninda, criticism. Disregard, I am just summarizing these verses. I am present in the heart of every living being as a super soul. Ignorant persons neglects or disregards me in all beings. His worship of the deity is simply an imitation and is like offering oblations to ashes. So if we don't respect every living being, we commit what? Aparadh. Now again this is an elaborate discussion. which is there in our seminar. If we don't give regard to any jiva, then we commit sin. And if we don't regard any Vaishnava, then we commit what? Aparadh. Simple. So the first reason is disregard. Second, hatred. The mind of such a separatist who worships me but hates Dvishata, other beings, does not attain peace. So this is the second reason he says. And the third is what? Criticism. I am not pleased with a man who criticizes other beings, avamanina, even if he worships with proper rituals and paraphernalia. So there are three reasons why sadhana bhakti doesn't lead to sadhya bhakti. And this is the main obstacle in the practice of sadhana bhakti. Now, Kapil Dev goes into the solution. First is realize the presence of the Lord in everyone. Until one realizes my presence in his own heart and in the heart of others, one should perform his prescribed duties and worship my deity. So now he is giving the solution. Now it's interesting, why don't we, respect every living being or every Vaishnava, understanding that in their heart the Lord is there? What is the reason? Anyone? What is the reason? What is the reason? Prabhuji wants the question to. Why we don't respect every living being or every Vaishnava? Because in their heart, Krishna is there in the form of Paramatma and he is a Jiva. So why we don't do that? What is the reason? Yes. Yes, that is. Okay. One after another, no? Okay. Any other thoughts? No, 1 minute. You have to yes. Okay, we discriminate. Yes. We are ignorant. Any other thoughts? Ignorance. Any other? Envy. Yes, Mataji. It's here. Answer is here on the slide. Yes, we have not realized the Lord in our heart. Only if you have realized the Lord in the heart, then you can realize that the Lord is in the heart of every living being. And then only you can respect. Now, if you have not realized in our heart the Lord, that means we are committing always offense. Now, until we realize the Lord in the heart, then what you have to do? Kapil Dev is saying, do your prescribed duty of deity worship. Try to realize that the Lord is present in the deity, and then your consciousness will expand and you'll come to a realization that you are also, the Lord is there in my heart also and in the heart of every living being. So this is the solution he gives. In the form of death, I give fear to those who see differences between themselves and other living beings. The distinction we make, Prabhuji pointed out that. Therefore, through charity, respect, friendly behavior and equal vision, one should propitiate me who abides in all as their very self. So Kapil Dev is giving the sadhana to do how we can realize the Lord in our heart and in others' heart, and then we can avoid this greatest obstacle in the path of bhakti. Now equal vision means, that you don't go and hug a tiger. That's very clear. So this is the solution Kapil Dev gives. Now, it is interesting, in this Kapil Shiksha, Kapil Dev goes into a very interesting analysis. He starts with, inanimate objects, and then living immovable objects, then entities with greater symptoms, entities with developed consciousness, entities with sense perception, and then beings with touch perception, like the touch me not tree, the plant, you know that, right? And then beings with many legs, entities with two sets of teeth, beings who distinguish forms, beings who can hear, there is sense of smell, then there is taste perception, then animals with four legs, and humans with two legs. Then there are humans with no varnashram, then humans with varnashram, then brahmanas, brahmagya, pure devotee, and then liberated. And then brahmanas who also follow his duties, brahmanas who can dispel doubts, and brahmana who knows the meaning of Vedas. Now he goes into a whole categorization of all living beings based on their level of consciousness. Now why does Kapil Dev does this after this discussion? It's a very interesting thing to know. Why does he does this distinction of all living beings based on their level of consciousness? What is the reason? Hare Krishna, you can hear. Slides will give you later on. You can attentively hear. What is the reason? Yes, sakale sammana korite shakti dehonata yatha yata. Tabe to gaibo harinam niraprada hoge. If you'd want to chant the holy names without offenses, then you will have to respect every living being based on their level of consciousness. So that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes into this discussion. Sorry, Kapil Dev. Later in the Vaishnav Ninda also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also does this analysis, and he classifies them into 4 different categories. Here Kapil Dev goes into a very lengthy analysis of the categories, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes it to only 4. So this is the gradation of the jivas, because only when we can respect every living being according to the level of consciousness, then only we can chant the holy name without offenses. Now we are actually coming to the article of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So there are few themes in this article. First is the introduction, that criticizing a Vaishnava is a great offense, aparad, for a sadhaka making progress in bhakti. And the whole discussion is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Rup Shiksha it comes up, in that conversation which happened at the Dashashvamed Ghat. Mahaprabhu taught Rupa Goswami that what is the constitution of the jiva? The jiva is just 1/10, 10,000 part of the tip of a hair. It's a spiritual atom. And then he goes into all these categorization, that those who don't follow varnashram, those who follow varnashram, and then there are jnanis. Those who follow varnashram, among them, hardly you'll find one jnani. And koti jnani madhe eka jnana mukt. Among such crores and crores of jnani, you'll find one jnani who is liberated by the process of jnana. And koti mukt jnani madhe durlabha eka Krishna bhakt. So when Mahaprabhu says that koti jnani mukta jnani madhe ek Krishna bhakta durlabh, he is referring to not a Krishna bhakta who has started practicing bhakti. He is referring to a pure devotee. And this pure devotion begins how? Brahmande brahmite kone bhagyavan jeev Guru Krishna prasade paye bhakti lata bij. It begins by getting the bhakti lata bij. And by the Shravanadi Jal, slowly one makes advances in the process of bhakti. And then he attains the lotus feet of Krishna. Then Mahaprabhu says, Kintu yadi Vaishnava aparad ute hati mata. If even up to the highest stage, even at the stage of prema. Kinto, if he commits an offense to a Vaishnava, then uphadeva chinde. The Bhakti Lata is uprooted from the root. And that whole discussion we discuss in one class about Prabhupada's purport on these two verses. So this is the introduction which is part of the discussion and which we briefly discussed. The next thing is about Bhaktivinoda Thakur's article on Vaishnav Ninda. It is an article which Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote in 3 essays. And we give the English transliteration and the additional notes and flowcharts based on what Prabhupada has to say in his purports, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying in the essay. So we'll just briefly look into this article of Vaishnav Ninda. So as I mentioned, we cannot go into this discussion of Prabhupada's purport on Chaitanya Charitamrita because it is a very elaborate discussion which will require a class at least. Okay. Now today we are just going to introduce what exactly is Vaishnav Ninda. Now Bhaktivinoda Thakur begins. This is Bengali, but you can see it is also translated in English. Jiva yata prakar aparad karite paren, tan madhe Vaishnav Ninda tulya ar bhayankar aparad nahi. Among all the kinds of offenses a living entity can commit, there is no offense as terrible as Vaishnav aparad. Bhayankar aparad nahi. Ateva वैष्णव निंदा कहा के बोले इहार यथा शास्त्र विचार करा आवश्यक. So since Vaishnava aparad is so terrible, therefore it is essential to analyze according to Shastra. Shastra vichar, what is referred to as Vaishnava aparad? What is called as Vaishnava aparad? Now many times I hear devotees, Prabhu, I'll not discuss about it, it's Vaishnava aparad. But Baba, you should know what exactly is Vaishnava aparad. What exactly constitutes a Vaishnava aparad? So as I was mentioning in the beginning of the talk, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to analyze who is a Vaishnava, firstly. And after studying that whole discussion, which takes at least 6 hours to discuss who is a Vaishnava, then we will all realize as practicing devotees that we are not Vaishnavas. And those who are not Vaishnavas whom you think, you will start realizing that they are Vaishnavas. Because, Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes into a deep understanding of who is a Vaishnava. And then what constitutes Vaishnava aparad. So that's why Shastra vichar. From Shastra, let us try to understand what is Vaishnava aparad. Now he gives a quotation. Skanda Purane Likit Hayache. The Hari Bhakti Vilas cites the following quotation from the Skanda Puran concerning blaspheming of a Vaishnava. Yo hi bhagavatam lokam upasam nripottama karoti tasya nashanti artha dharma yasha suta. So this Skanda Puran conversation is between Markandeya Rishi and Bhagirath king. In the conversation between Markandeya and Bhagirath, it is said, my dear king, Nripa Uttama, one who derides an exalted devotee, Yohi Bhagavatam Lokam Upasam, loses the result of his pious activities, Karoti Tasya Nashanti, his opulence, his reputation and his sons. Nashanti Artha Dharma Yasha Suta. So this is from the Sun Puran. And interestingly, here pious activities means even your devotional credits. Whatever you have practiced in your devotional life, even that you will lose if you commit Vaishnava aparad. And then he further says, Nindam kurvanti ye mudha Vaishnavanam mahatmanam patanti pitrabhyasardam Mahararave samgite. Those fools who offend Vaishnava, Nindam kurvanti e mudha. Vaishnavanam Mahatmanam, the great souls, Patanti Pitrabhyo, fall into the hell name as Maharaurava with their forefathers. Maharaurava Sangita. Sardam means along with their forefathers. Now we know in the Varnashram Dharma, when the Shraddha is done, those who are in the Pitralok suffering because of not having, suffering because of their activities, what they have done on planet Earth, even when the Shraddha offerings are done and the Vishnu Prasad is offered, who are suffering because of, the terrible sins which they have committed, they get also relief. Similarly, when we commit offense, not only we are going to suffer, even our forefathers are going to suffer. That's what, this verse is. And then he gives this verse from the Skanda Puran. What are the 6 types of Vaishnava aparadh which happen? Now let us recite this verse together. Hanti nindanti vaidveshti Vaishnavanam na binandati Kridyate yati no harsham Darshane patana nishat Hanti nindanti vaidveshti Vaishnavanam na binandati Krudyate yati no harsham Darshane patana nishat Hanti nindanti vaidveshti Vaishnavanam na binandati Krudyate yati no harsham Darshane patana nishad. Hanti means killing a Vaishnava. Now you can kill a Vaishnava by your words also. It not only refers to the physical act of killing, but you can kill a Vaishnava by your words, when you speak harsh words. Criticizing is nindanti. Hating, dveshti. Hate a Vaishnava. So there are, fine distinctions between these, Now there is, there are 3 emotions which I am going to express by these 3 words. And you'll have to tell me what it means. I don't like that Vaishnava. What I'm saying? My feeling is what about it? I don't like that Vaishnava. And then you say, I'm jealous of that Vaishnava. And my expression of feeling is what? That I'm jealous of that Vaishnava. And at higher level, I say I'm envious of that Vaishnava. Now all these 3 are the same emotions what I'm expressing, and what is the difference? You'll have to tell. I hope you got the question. Okay, at least tell what is the difference between jealousy and envy. When I say I'm jealous of that Vaishnava and I'm envious of that Vaishnava. Yes, Prabhuji. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyone else would like to share their thoughts? I did not hear what, Mataji. Owner's pride, neighbor. Yeah, that's a famous slogan, yes. But still, these are very, fine things which we need to understand. Anyone else would like to share? No, I'm trying to, my question is, what exactly is that emotion of jealousy and envy? And what is the difference between the two? but what exactly it is? Hmm. Yes, that's right. I don't like him, so it doesn't make any. Just that I don't like him. That's the feeling. Jealousy means, as Prabhu is saying, that something he has. You know, why is he more famous than me? I have come before in Krishna consciousness. Why is he getting so much attention? Why people are attracted to his classes? So jealousy means I burn in the heart, seeing him. But envy means, I am burning, I will also burn him. That means I try to harm him. I like a bullet. I have attraction for it. And my friend has got a bullet now. He's bought a new bullet car. And seeing the bullet, I am feeling jealous. But envy means when I cannot have, he should also not have. So I destroy the bullet. So envy means when you actually harm others. So that's a feeling. It is a concentrated feeling. But this is what exactly is happening. Not only I am burning, I want to burn him also. So that's why this has different shades, Dveshti. And Vaishnavanam na binandati. Not welcoming a Vaishnava. Now again, this is an elaborate discussion. Because if you see all these, you'll find in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahaspati was not welcomed when Indra was in that sabha. Right? And Brahaspati could understand. He immediately left the place. And Indra understood, I have committed a offence. So just did not welcome. And what happened? He lost his guru. There was no one to do the yagyas. So they got whom? Vishwarup. And Vishwarup was Samadarshina. He was offering oblations both to the Devatas and the Dhanavas. When Indra came to know, what did he do? Killed him. So just not welcoming led to what? Killing a Vaishnava, Hanti. And then later on, because of that, what happened? Who was born? Vritrasura. He ended up killing a what? A pure Vaishnava. So there are different levels even in these 6 types. So Vaishnavanam na binandati. Even in the outside corporate world, when you go to the office, they have their etiquette of welcoming each other. Right? So in our Vaishnava circle also there is an etiquette by which we welcome Vaishnavas. So na binandati. And Krudyate. Krudyate means becoming angry upon a Vaishnava. And yati no harsham. Not attaining delighted upon seeing a Vaishnava. So right from the gross level of killing a Vaishnava, no, there is a subtle level. What is that? Which is the subtlest among the 6? Not being happy seeing a Vaishnava. And even that has a subtle impact on our consciousness and on our chanting. So just like imagine you're, just got into a post-graduation college in Switzerland and you land up in Switzerland and for 10-15 days you have not seen an Indian there. And you're missing your home country. And suddenly on the street, out of nowhere, you see another Indian coming. You have no relationship with him, but seeing an Indian, what will happen? You are happy. And you go and speak to him as though you know him. Which part of the country you are. And you'll have a friendship with him, right? So similarly, Vaishnavas are very rare. Just seeing a Vaishnava, you should be delighted. So these are the 6 kinds the Skanda Puran explains. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, after quoting this, he says, Ye mooda vyakti Mahatma Vaishnavara ninda kare se tahara pitr lokera sahit maharaurav namake narke patit hoy. Those fools who offend Vaishnavas, great souls, fall into hell named as Maharaurava with their forefathers. ए वैष्णव के हानन करे, निंदा करे, विद्वेषी करे, वैष्णव का देखिया अभिनंदन करे ना, क्रोध करे वा विमर्श होए, ताहार पक्ष ये छैते घर्नित आचर पतनेर कारण होए. These 6 things which we discussed become the causes of their downfall. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a quotation from the Bhagavatam. Bhagavate likhi achen. The following is written in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Nindam Bhagavata Shunvam Tatparasya Janasya Va Tato Napeti Yahasopi Yatyada Sukratachyuta. He who upon hearing criticism of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nindaham Bhagavata Shunvan, or a person dedicated to him, Tat Parasya Janasya, this is pertaining to the Lord or his devotee, does not go away from that place, Na Peti Yaha Sopi, also degrades himself, having fallen from the good results of his pious activity. Yati Adha Sukrita Chuta. And here again, this term Sukrita means what? It means your devotional credits. Your devotional credits will come down. So for all these 6, Bhagavatam also gives the praman, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives that praman in the Bhagavatam. Now, Eistale Bhagwan ya Vaishnavar Ninda Haicha Chen, Ei se sthana tyag karyana ena tini samast sukriti hoite chuta hoya ado gachati prapt hoye. He who does not abandon and go away from that place where there is criticism of a Supreme Personality of Godhead or the Vaishnavas, fall down from all of his accumulated piety and attains a lower destination. Now, these are the 2 main introduction themes of what exactly is Vaishnav Ninda. Now, as I mentioned, Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes into elaborate discussion on this subject. And I'm just introducing you at what are the topics Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to discuss in this subject. Firstly, as I was mentioning, Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes into the categories of jiva and the appropriate conduct we should do. There are different kinds of living beings and we should respect them according to their level of consciousness. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur first analyzes human beings into 4 categories and how one should respect accordingly. So this is the first thing he discusses. And then, as I was mentioning, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to describe who is a Vaishnava. And firstly, he analyzes from the Bhagavat perspective as who is a Vaishnava. The Kanishta, Madhyama and the Uttama. And then he classifies the Vaishnavas based on Mahaprabhu's teachings of Vaishnava, Vaishnavatara and Vaishnavatama. So after having analyzed that who is a Vaishnava, then he comes to the topic of what constitutes Vaishnav Aparadh. So then, it is very interesting, Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes into discussion of what is Nam. Nam means what? Name. And what is the difference between Namabhas? Namabhas means it is not name, it is the reflection of the name. Now why he discusses this is because he makes a point that those who chant Namabhas also, they are not Vaishnavas. And what to speak of those who chant? Namaparad. So even Namabhas also he says, those who chant Namabhas, they are not Vaishnavas. Now it's very interesting discussion, and it will be very interesting to find out that who is a Vaishnava. Because from the Bhagavad perspective also, the Kanishta, Uttama and Madhyama understanding is very, very deep. And from Mahaprabhu's perspective also, it is very simple. It's very simple. Mahaprabhu says, Yandra Mukhe Eka Krishna Nam, from whose mouth once the name Krishna comes, say Vaishnav, Kari Tahar Saman. So he says that he is a Vaishnava and you have to respect him. He is a Kanishtadhikari. So anyone out there, he says once Hare Krishna, according to Mahaprabhu's definition, he is a Vaishnava. He is not having Kantimala, he is not having Japamala, he is not having Tilak, he doesn't come to the Hare Krishna temple, but according to Mahaprabhu's definition, he is a Vaishnava. And who should respect him? Who should respect him? No. Everyone doesn't recognize him as a Vaishnava. Interesting, right? Who should respect him? We who are so-called Vaishnavas. Are you getting this point? Or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. So we should respect. Because we are able to identify that he is a Vaishnava. And none of us can identify him as a Vaishnava. Only we can identify as Vaishnava. So that is why even in Updeshamrit, it is the Madhyamadhikari who can discriminate who is a Kanishta and who is a Uttama. And he should respect and associate according to their level. So similarly, it is we who have to respect that Vaishnava. And if we don't respect and don't recognize him as Vaishnava, then it is what? It is a aparadh. So that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes into this discussion of who is a Vaishnava, which is a very elaborate discussion. And that is why he comes to the point of Nam. That if you want to take Nam, Nam means Shuddha Nam, the pure name. Only one who takes the pure name is a Vaishnava, a pure Vaishnava. And there are categories again in that. So that is why he goes into the discussion of what is Nam and what is Namabhas. What is Namabhas? And the Vaishnavas who chant Shuddha Nam are endowed with all good qualities, free from sins, and has no interest in pious or impious activities. So one who is a Vaishnava who chants Shuddha Nam, he is endowed with all good qualities. He is free from all sins. And he has no interest in piety or sin. Now again, I'll just briefly touch upon that one who chants Shuddha Nam. Bhaktivinoda Thakur establishes that a Kanishta Adhikari, even if he once in his life takes once the holy name, pure holy name, he is a pure Vaishnava. I hope you are clear with this definition. A Madhyamadhikari who is chanting Namabhas, he is chanting the holy name continuously. He must have also taken what? Once Shuddha Nam. He is at a different level. Whereas a Uttamadhikari, he is chanting Shuddha Nam, and just by his darshan, people take the holy name. He is able to transform others into Vaishnavas. So a Kanishta Adhikari is one who has in this life taken once what? Shuddha Nam. Just once. In 10 years of practice or 15 years of practice, maybe that one day when the festival or one day when he was in the dham, that once he took the mantra and suddenly he experienced the Ashtasattvic Vikars. That one name he has taken, he is a Shuddha Vaishnava. Because he has taken once Shuddha Nam. A Madhyamadikari is always able to take Shuddhanam because he is Nirantar, he is chanting. And a Uttamadikari, he is not only taking Shuddhanam, he is able to give name to others and others are becoming Vaishnavas by his potency. So such a Vaishnava is endowed with all good qualities and is free from sin and is not attracted to pious and impiety. So this is the point he establishes systematically. And then now comes about aparad. He says wicked people see faults in a Vaishnava in three ways. Now my question is, who are these wicked people? Who are these wicked people? Anyone? Yes? Us. It is us who are wicked people who see fault in Vaishnavas. I give this example. There's one famous industrialist whom I know. And his everyday breakfast was liquor and meat. His breakfast was what? Liquor and meat. And now somehow he came into Krishna consciousness. He explained me how he came also. The transformation what he had. And he's been practicing. Now because he's a very famous industrialist, the town people know him. And whenever I meet some outside person, they tell that your industrialist who comes to your temple, Hare Krishna, I can't believe how this man has transformed. Every day I know this person needs meat and liquor. Now he has left everything and he's chanting Hare Krishna. So this outside materialist person is appreciating because of this transformation. And we in the association of devotees whom he is associating, we find fault with him. So these wicked people are who? Us. So in three ways he says. And then he explains that, I was telling that what really constitutes Vaishnava Aparad we have to understand. Oh, time is up. I did not realize. I'll just finish it. The faults of others can be deliberated upon if one has virtuous motive. If there is a sad udesh, then you can point out faults. If you have a sad udesh. And then, what are these three types of sad udesh? Desiring the welfare of the person criticized, desiring the welfare of the whole world, or desiring one's own welfare. That is again a elaborate discussion. So that is why we should not have this misconception, if I discuss anything, it is a Vaishnava Aparad. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur elaborates on that. And then, one of the reasons why we commit or find fault or commit Vaishnava Aparad is because of association. Bad association. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur ends his article, how to abandon bad association. And then, it is only possible for a Madhyamadikari to serve saintly persons and unrighteous activities corrupting for a Madhyamadikari. So ultimately he comes that you have to come to the Madhyama platform if you want to advance in Krishna consciousness. So that all that knowledge he will be giving, in that discussion of who is a Vaishnava. Because as long as you cannot identify at what level of adhikar you are in your practice, you will not strive to go higher, up the ladder. So then he concludes by this topic that only a Madhyamadikari can serve saintly person because he is able to recognize who is a Uttamadikari and who is a Kanishtadikari. So I just summarized this whole discussion, what are the themes which Bhaktivinoda Thakur discusses in his article about Vaishnava Aparad. Any questions, any clarifications? Yes, Prabhuji. You need the mic there? Yes. 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 Again now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his article goes into an elaborate discussion of what is pap and what is aparad. There's a drastic difference between the two. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out, pap has to do with the stool and the linga sharira. Whereas aparad, he says, is atma patenira karan. And just to give an example, just like you have a car and you're driving, the tire puncture happens or the headlight is not working, still you can manage and drive the car, or you can repair that part and still go ahead. But aparad means the driver who is driving the car, he goes into coma. Neither car can move, nor he can move inside sitting in the car. So aparad means what? It directly affects the soul. Directly affects the soul. Now he can't do anything because he's collapsed there. He's injected. He's gone to sleep now. So the papa affects the stool and the linga sharira, the gross and the subtle body. Whereas aparad affects the soul itself. The soul's progress is completely, it is ceased there. So of course there are deeper understandings of that, and we'll have to go deep into that whole pastime of the Daksha Shiva pastime, which we elaborately discuss in the themes which will come there. And there the finer understandings will come of what exactly is the difference. Now, it is observation also of mine, which I have observed, and Shastra also is quoting. A devotee, when he is practicing devotional life, although he might be suffering because of his past reactions, and he is going through bodily troubles, but still he is able to practice his spiritual life. Although he is having difficulty because of the papa, sometimes we are suffering and we have difficulties in chanting our rounds or executing devotion, but still he continues. But it is an observation that one who commits offense, he loses the taste for devotional activities and he is no more, able to practice his sadhana bhakti also. Yes or no? Have you observed this or no? Yes. So that's the difference. And again, this is a very elaborate discussion. Only when we study the Daksha Shiva pastime, then we'll get a very deep insight about how the effects work for papa and aparad. Is it okay for now? Yes.
Suppose the devotee is practicing bhakti and is made certain level of advancement, then he commits an aparad, so there is a break in his progress.
Yes.
Now after he overcomes the offense, he understands, he rectifies, repents, again he starts practicing bhakti. So will he continue from the same level? But
yes. These are the standard questions I get. Again, now here, if you study the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are different levels of understanding of this. I'll give you first the highest understanding which Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu gives. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in the Eastern division, there is Prema Bhakti discussed, right? And then Rupa Goswami mentions that if somebody, even at Prema Bhakti level, commits an offense. Now, nobody commits an offense after Bhava. Till Bhava, we have to be careful. Now, if anybody commits offense at Prema level, and if he has realized his Swarupa in Madhurya Ras, if he commits an offense, he goes down in his Rasa. He might come down to Sakya Ras or Vatsalya. And if somebody is on Vatsalya Ras, he might come down to Shanta Ras or Dasya Ras. This is what Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Now regarding specifically your question, Now, aparad, when we say about aparad, it means a very, very serious, grievous offense of a guru aparad. When one commits such a guru aparad, from wherever he is, as Mahaprabhu is saying, what? It uproots the tree from the root. From the root, it is uprooted. So, where you start your bhakti by Agyat Sukriti, and then you get Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, you go back to zero. Now you are no more, no more in the Sangha of sadhus where you are attaining Sukriti. Now, again, this is, subject matter which we have to clearly understand, that right now our bhakti practice is not pure. For practicing Shuddha Bhakti, we need Purna Shraddha. Purna Shraddha means Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Now we are in the process of accumulating Shraddha. And we have our conditioned nature also, right? And we are doing conditional activities. The constitutional nature of the soul is 24 hours to be Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. So that Shraddha accumulation which is happening, that also is stopped. And if it is very grievous, even in this lifetime he cannot come back to devotional life. But of course, devotion is, it is never destroyed, as you are mentioning, as Prabhupada also says. And we see in many cases, like Gajendra, in his previous life he was Indradumna. It gets completely covered. And the suffering you go through because of aparad is quite different from the suffering what you go through when you commit pap. You got the point? Here it's like the king's son who is imprisoned. And there is a poor man, his son is also imprisoned. Both are going through suffering, both are in the jail. But is the suffering same? No, the king's son is suffering more, right? Because he's always relished, nice royal opulence. The poor man is already in the poor house. The jail is also the same place. It doesn't make much difference for him. So the suffering also what you undergo is very severe in case of aparad. So you will have to again start accumulating Agyat Sukriti. And in the association of devotees, again, you will have to start doing sadhu sangha. And then you will have to take up to bhajan. You will have to go through that whole thing. This is in case of a very severe offense of a guru aparad. But in cases of generally, while practicing sadhana, offenses do happen. And if they are minor, they little bit affect, but we still continue to practice our devotional life. You get the difference between the two? Okay. Any other questions? One after the another we'll take. Yes.
You mentioned that we will be identifying that somebody who actually think as a Vaishnava is not a Vaishnava, but who we think not a Vaishnava will be Vaishnava. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Oh, that I told you that's a vast subject. I gave one example. If somebody says Hare Krishna, according to Mahaprabhu's definition, he is a Vaishnava. And who will identify him as a Vaishnava? We who are so-called Vaishnavas. And if we don't respect, then it constitutes Vaishnava aparad. So that is a subject matter which we have to discuss and get a clear understanding about it. Okay. One more question there. Last question is okay? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the wonderful session. So Prabhuji, generally the offenses that gets committed in the terms in ways of criticism or displeasure, which is another name is hatred towards another Vaishnava. It happens when devotees are trying actually to serve their guru and ultimately also Prabhupada, who was Mahabhagavat. So in the service of guru and the parampara acharyas, a lot of pressure situations are come up, and we commit offense when things are not happening or mistakes are being done. So it's one is the aparad is happening, between Vaishnavas, but the intention was to serve another Vaishnava, which is Guru. So when trying to serve Guru, aparadhs are happening.
No, that's what I mentioned, that we have to first understand what is aparadh. No, we don't have a clear understanding of what is aparadh. We feel that in our service, while doing seva, there can be differences of opinion. And because of differences of opinion, there are sometimes, strain in the relationships among Vaishnavas. This is a general thing which we find. Now, these are related to management issues. Now, this is completely a different thing compared to what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, what actually constitutes aparadh. So, you'll have to understand what actually is aparadh. That's not nothing to do with aparadh, for your kind information. And that's why we think it is an aparadh, but it is not an aparadh. So, you have to understand what exactly is an aparadh. So, I'll just briefly explain what Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains. There are only 3 kinds of faults we see in Vaishnavas. Prag Utpanna, Shaya Vashishtha, and Daiv Utpanna. Prag Utpanna means before taking to devotional life, he had some bad habits. And you see fault in him. Oh, this devotee, you don't know, before he was a drunkard. So previous to taking up to, again, it is with respect to pure devotional service, but even then, anyone who has taken up to devotional service also, you can apply it. Then, with the practice of devotion, all his bad qualities are getting eradicated. But we still see fault in that. Drushte svabhava janita vapushya. We see fault in that and point out that faults. So until one comes to the stage of asakti, these faults remain. But we find out fault with that. Thirdly, even Mahabhagavats sometimes might commit something very wrong. And the classic example is Parikshit Maharaj. He committed a great offence to Shringi Rishi. Right? So these are Daiv Utpanna. And these are very difficult for us to understand as sadhakas. So we have to go into all these examples to understand these 3 types. So Daiv Utpanna is something, even Mahabhagats might commit something wrong. But it is Daiv Utpanna. It is some divine arrangement of the Lord. And we don't understanding, we start criticizing that sadhu. This is one thing which should be very, very careful. So based on these 3 kinds of faults, you see and you make false accusations against Vaishnava. That is what constitutes Vaishnava aparadh. I hope it is clear. Only these 3. Apart from these 3, nothing else. Okay? So that's why each of the 3 things we'll have to study them carefully and then understand it. Now with respect to management, you want to do this service in particular way, the other devotee wants to, but there is a difference of opinion. Now usually it is because of lack of maturity between the devotees that, because of this difference of opinion, we just can't get along with each other. Matbhed leads to manabhed, right? So that is lack of maturity. That has nothing to do with what? Vaishnav aparadh. Are you clear about this now? Yes or no? Yes. Yeah, that's what we have a...
And if anything that hurts a person, and if he's a Vaishnava, I thought that's Vaishnava aparadh. I mean, either physically or even background. Like
but based on these 3 things, when we do this, that's why we have to study that elaborately and then only get the right understanding. It helps us to, practice our devotion with a clear understanding that no, this has nothing to do with Vaishnava. Yesterday I was just with another devotee and he was telling me, Prabhuji, if I speak about it, it will become Vaishnava aparadh. I said, what is this? No, So you have to have this clear understanding. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur brings out that. And Prabhupada also brings out that. So in this whole article we present what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying and what Prabhupada in his purports has said. You know, Prabhupada practically speaks the same thing, but sometimes it is difficult to decipher from Prabhupada's purports that this is, Prabhupada is saying the same thing, but you know, so that's why we have to study and have a clear understanding, and then it helps us. Okay? Yes. Yes. These 6 things are there. These 6 things are offenses which we can commit. It is aparadh. Okay, you want to find the correlation between these 3 types and the 6. Now when you are jealous or envious of a Vaishnava, then you don't feel happy seeing him, right? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes? Yes. So that's a correlation. We bring out that correlation also while discussing. So there is a relation between that 6 things, what constitute Vaishnava aparadh, and the 3 kinds of faults which we see. It has a relation. Got the point? Okay. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna. We would like to thank his guest Ramabhadra Priya Prabhu for giving just the overview. Like when Prabhuji mentioned that I can take one session, and he was telling that it is an elaborate one. It will be like a trailer, just like before the movie the trailer is there which creates the eagerness to see the whole movie. So Prabhuji travels to different places like Goa, and even in Bangalore also he is doing this weekend a series of seminar. So Prabhuji, just to give a brief introduction of Prabhuji. Prabhuji is serving in the Belgaum temple. After his studies, inspired by the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, he joined his Belgaum temple, serving under his own Bhakti Samrat Swami Maharaj. And later, when the need was there, he was assisting his great Dayanam Prabhu in the legal team for a long time. And afterwards again, shifted back to Belgaum temple and serving there. And recent last maybe 2 years or something, Prabhuji was under the direction of Bhakti Samrat Maharaj, was staying in Vrindavan and wanted to go deeper into the studies of the scriptures. So that was the time he came up with all these seminars, and now travels to Goa, Belgaum, and in Bangalore and other places, and online also he conducts these seminars. So we are very fortunate to have Prabhuji in this visit. Today was the slot which was available. Other days he's doing programs at Whitefield, SJM also. So Prabhuji was telling in the month of January or so he's planning to again come to Bangalore, and that time we can plan something, the longer one. This was just a trailer. So let us thank Prabhuji for this wonderful touching upon this subject, and so that devotees get that eagerness to know more. Let us thank him and express our gratitude by chanting Hare Krishna mantra once. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.